What I think people are learning is partner up. This is about what do you commit to. Hearst, I think, are really interesting. Their shop bazaar idea, they've linked up with Saks of Fifth Avenue. And it's the Saks buyers who specify what goes on those shop bazaar pages, not the editorial team of Harper's Bazaar. Cosmo's linked up with Amazon for fulfillment purposes. These are all experiments to see which part of the value chain works for the publisher and where they need to bring in expertise. So lots of experiments going on. As we discover things about how we sell, whether we bundle or unbundle with the print edition, whether we sell the full content or part contents, the whole pricing is one issue. Another issue is about discoverability. How do you browse? So we're learning a new way of retailing digitally. And as we discover what works and the keystones, that 3.5% in the USA will start to grow enormously. It's 1.2% in the UK at the moment. We're a little behind. But it's really interesting about the market opportunity, because when people have looked at their digital edition sales, certainly both American and UK publishers are discovering approximately half of their sales are coming from overseas markets. Now that's partly because it's English language, and we know the ubiquity of English around the world. But I would suggest that's a fantastic opportunity for Indian publishers. Given the Indian diaspora that exists and what you guys have in content, it's a fantastic opportunity. It's pretty hard to rip off a printed magazine, because the only way to do it is to print a magazine. What's the point? But digitally, we can be ripped off. And so we need to address that, and that's quite hard to do. And certainly it was something that the music industry found almost impossible to manage. So we need to learn some lessons. The eighth theme is really good. Advertising works in magazines. Actually works in printed magazines really well. And you know, the publisher of Top Gear in the UK, they publish in India as well. Tarun's company publishers, I believe. 65% of our readers say that advertising enhances the enjoyment of a tablet magazine. You know, that's 65%. No one says that about advertising in any other media. And magazines are terrific at getting consumers closer to brands. That's clear. I'll talk a little bit about that. The top research papers are compiled. We fill it out, this story, and we present it back to you guys to use, just proving how magazine advertising works. And it works everywhere. You know, what's appropriate in one country generally is appropriate in another. It's what we found when the AIM study of 2 years ago won a research award at our research forum. And that's the video you guys produced was fabulous, and I know it's been used a lot, because we ran it on the FIPP website and people were approaching us for permission to use it as well. Great video, and the story it tells is the same no matter which country you're in. So advertising magazine works, and we have the proof of that, and we produce a publication to show it. In Rome, we had two things. I'm not going to go into huge detail about this, because again, if you go to the FIPP website, you'll get more details. But the UK won the research award this year with their Maganomics behavioural study, which basically showed the return on investment on magazines in the UK was double compared to any other media. Now that's interesting, because in the States, Meredith, they did a case study. They looked at 25 advertisers with them, and with the advertisers fully involved, that's scary, researched the return on investment. In every case, that return on investment was more profitable than any other media, to the point where Meredith went out this year and guaranteed to advertisers that what their return on investment will be, and would give their money back to any advertiser who didn't get that return. They've not had to give their money back to any advertiser yet. And that's scary, but really important. And one of the important things is measurements and research, proof. Advertisers will want more and more proof. And I know in India you've got some big barriers to overcome. The readership survey results. It's really tough in a population of 1.1 billion to get a proper readership research. But you're going to have to find a way through that, because advertisers are going to want it. Which came on to the 9th point, because one of the things about digital everyone claims is it's measurable. Well, we're becoming a bit more sophisticated than that, and clicks do not equal success. Dominic Proctor, who's the chief executive of Group M, and he's the man under Martin Sorrell, so he's going to run Group M when Martin Sorrell decides to go. Responsible for $30 billion. $30 billion of advertising placement. So when he speaks, you listen, and what he said is, we haven't found ways of building brands through the primary use of digital media, which is good news, really. And it comes back to the old thing we've always said, it's about having a mix of media. Putting all your budget into one platform has never worked, and even works even less in the digital world. So I think it's about getting our brands and explaining the platform opportunities we give. And I think the magazine industry is better positioned than most to deliver a multi-brand experience for advertisers. Because they're looking, if they're not looking for clicks, what are they looking for? Again, probably too small to read, but what we're trying to give them is I say, fairly basic stuff, but what they want is metrics that try to prove increased brand awareness and purchase intention. That's what they want, which means metrics such as viewability, in time, the viewing in time, the number of universal reactions, the time of those universal reactions. They want depth. They just don't want a unique user and number of clicks. That's nowhere near enough. What that means is big data and data analysis, and be prepared for it. And if I look at B2B publishers and what they're doing, they're employing data specialists in a way they've never done before, because that's what the advertisers will want. And I think what's happening in B2B areas now, in 5 years' time, will be front and center of consumer publishing. So your scientists, your analytical geeks are going to be really important to your advertising sales messages going forward. The number of even senior people in our industry who don't know what real-time bidding is scary. But it's the new gold for content and advertising. And why? Because at the moment in Western Europe and North America, approximately 30% of digital advertising revenue is bought by programmatic advertising. That's what real-time bidding is. And by 2015, don't say, well, that's the start or the end, let's say the end, it's going to be 50%, which means a huge leap. And this is a debate now. And I remember being in Costa Rica in 2012, where I had a panel of chief executives. I've got a panel of chief executives tomorrow, so here's one of the questions I'm going to ask is, how much of your advertising is programmatic? And in 2012 in South America, these chief executives didn't know what programmatic advertising was. It's going to have a major impact on us all. So what is it? Really simple. A user visits a website. As he visits the website, that user's profile is sent by real-time advertising technology to various people, sent direct to advertisers, to ad agency trading desks, to other trading desks, to people who are interested in that consumer, who've got in their profile what they're prepared to pay for that end user. And a bid is won, and it goes back, and that ad is placed in front of the consumer. It means when I look at a website, I may well get a different ad to what you get, which is interesting. And it's all done in milliseconds. And it's sold at about $2 a thousand. That's not very much. But where it worked for publishers initially was it got rid of remnant space. It got rid of inventory you couldn't sell anyway. So $2 a thousand was better than no dollars a thousand. But of course, what it's doing is it's commoditizing, taking away the quality of sale. It's a really dangerous place to go, and could drive down prices. That's why there is probably more interest in native advertising, which is far more interesting. Although we didn't talk a lot about this in Rome, so I think it's a point of the future. But native advertising is, my understanding in America, they're getting about $20 a thousand for that. What native advertising is what we used to call advertorials in a way. And I think that really plays well to the magazine industry because we understand with our brands how to speak to our audience in an ethical way. And the big debate about native advertising is the danger of being too commercial within an editorial environment. I think we understand that. We know when it's wrong. And it's the model, the guidance is really simple. Your audience, your reader knows when he's being cheated. So use it, but be careful. One of the other ways of competing is that publishers have joined together to create their own ad networks. So if it's all about advertisers who simply want volumes, someone like IDG in the technology field will get all the websites that cover the IT industry, the chief information officer, wherever. They will get 200 websites together and sell that as an ad exchange to the advertisers who just want eyeballs. It'd be really interesting the days when Elle, Vogue, Harper's and Grazia come together and sell women's fashion to Prada and the like. I think one is because they can create content and they can use YouTube and Twitter and all the rest. They can reach their audiences and they don't need us. So that's one implication. The other implication is what David Pullen said in Rome, which is we're now in the content creation game alongside our clients. What that means is they're looking for creative talent. So advertisers are employing people we used to employ as our creative talent.